Okay, out of a sense of really of dignity.
Okay.
I'm going to call to order the meeting of the Building Facilities Construction Committee meeting of October 24th at 7:09 PM. And Mr. Cundiff, the first item on the agenda is the library.
Yes, I think we have a few people here from the library trustees that would like to address the board. And we might want to have them come up.
Would you
sit
like
at the
to join
table?
us? And-
Yeah, Bill told me Maria would be off the list. She did? No, I'm not sure.
Would you feel more comfortable?
She didn't get a notice on the last meeting.
No. Oh, yeah, George, why don't you sit here so they can stick together, no?
Yeah, that, for their safety. I mean,
Stand for like.
One of these
It's not
days.
bad. Oh, it's already done, it's already done, it's already done, it's already
Oh.
done, it's already done. Sorry, they're quicker, smarter than me.
Oh, boy.
I'm Dawn Fontaine.
Hello.
This is Kate Anderson with the library trustees. So just very simply tonight, we just wanted to, we are not experts in building, but we do want to do, next year, apply for a Mass Office on Disabilities grant and get accessible bathrooms and take advantage of the paved area in the back with some ideas for an elevator unit that would make it accessible. So we wanted to have your input or someone from the building and facilities as sort of a little subcommittee so that we could put our heads together as to what the best plan is for the least amount of money without tying a lot of time up at meetings, at formal meetings, a little bit of a subcommittee so that we could toss ideas back and forth. Kate and I met with Matt Wojcik, to talk about the idea of what we wanted to do, and he's in agreement with it. He had a few really good ideas of his own about how we could make use of the boiler area and that kind of thing, but our experience is minimal, so we're just looking for someone else who can advise one-on-one or two-on-two. We are here, it would be just Kate and I from the library, and then whomever, if someone would be willing to meet with us for the BFCC, talk through ideas. We've already done some preliminary emails and information from the Mass Office on Disabilities, as well as some architects in the area, but just wanted to have those conversations more informally, and then come back and share it with this committee as well as the greater library group after meeting more one-on-one.
So I suppose the first step would be putting together the grant and the specific, in the body of the grant?
That's not the first step. The first step would be to meet with an architect who could do, I think you had all seen before, and I don't really need to bring these out, but basically there were informal plans done by Aaron Sokrat. We like the concept of them, but there's, potential issues with them. It doesn't incorporate the bathrooms, and there's a lot of back and forth questions that need to be figured out, and then plans would need to be made, an architect would need to make actual drawings rather than just these conceptual.
Which means we're obligated to go through the bidding process for the architect, correct? Or am I wrong about that?
Well, it depends on dollars and values
think,
of
yeah.
projects.
We were told
we
like
do.
9,000, I think, roughly.
Which is.
Well, this committee has jurisdiction on construction projects that are $50,000 or more.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm not sure what size the grant is that you'd be seeking.
This was
I-
about 200 or 250?
I don't know
I
the
forget
size of the
now.
grant, so I'm just, when I say the 9,000, that's to get the plans, rough ballpark numbers, and then it probably would be at least 50,000 for the.
Yeah.
So we do have a document, it's actually at the bottom of our agenda. So if you, the emailed version, if you click on,
on the backside of it. On the top.
local designer selection procedures, that's the guidance that we use. That's a document that the selectmen actually adopted in the past.
Do you have what she copied on these emails?
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you click on that, that'll give you a link to
Okay.
those requirements and the
Okay.
process for designer selection.
Okay.
With regard to the paving, I just want you to be aware, there is a cost associated with that because the site lies within our Water Resource Protection Overlay District. And,
It does, definitely.
yeah.
Okay.
And paving, the reason we only put down regrind was because regrind is pervious, so it allows water to go into the ground. If you create an impervious area over a certain percentage, and I don't want to say the number because I'd have to look it up. On the lot, you have to have a stormwater system to infiltrate the groundwater, the rainwater into the ground. So that'll have to be designed. So it's cost, basically, is what I'm saying. There's cost associated with that. And I just want you to be aware of that.
And actually, we did do some preliminary work with the Mass Office on Disabilities. Again, a woman named Jakara Rogers sent a really long email. She's an access specialist at the Mass Office on Disability, and she gave 8 links and a lot of information about how the surface needs to be done. But it needs Bill or someone else who's more knowledgeable to kind of translate it, because it doesn't, she didn't say, oh, yes, you can do this, or yes, no, you can't. It takes, some reviewing and understanding it. So I guess what I'm saying is there's a lot of back and forth and conversation that needs to be had, so rather than tying up 2 committees, trying to figure out some of these issues. But that was one thing where she said that the surface have a uniform, paved, or hard-packed smooth surface.
So no regrind.
I don't know, see, that's what I don't know, how that falls. That's
Well,
like,
paved and hard packed, is that paved?
I think that they mean a paved surface. And if it's ADA, it's just about accessibility, so you want a smooth, hard surface that's not irregular. And they have some standards that are very exact, like a
Yeah.
1/4-inch lip is not acceptable. So it's pretty rigorous.
And that could really drive the cost up if it has to be stormwater management.
Well, yeah, it's got to be a subsurface system because the lot's so small, so it'd be under the paved parking lot, and then,
Would that be limited to the handicap parking area and
That
the
was-
access to the building? Or would
That was
that
exactly
require
what-
the entire parking lot to be done?
it's whatever the requirement is. I
Okay,
mean,
no, I didn't know if you were familiar with it, that's why I'm just asking.
I would think
just trying to-
it's from
Because
an
you're talking about a
accessible parking
percentage.
space.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's the
Yeah.
roof area plus the paved parking area, and I want to say it's 30% or more, but I'm guessing.
yeah, because that was another point that one of the library trustees made, like if we could just do it, if that became an issue, if we could just do it for the handicapped units. I guess there's 14 spaces, I'm not sure what their percentage is.
Right.
So you didn't give us that.
Right.
Well, there's a link.
Yeah.
So
Well, the-
Oh, please.
the 2 of you are the library trustees.
Correct.
Who else is on that board?
Ellie Chesborough, Diane Morrow is the chair, Dana Harvey, Nick Sokrat, and Betty.
Holden
Betty.
and Barbara Van Reed. I think that's it.
Yeah. Who hasn't been showing up, not counting her. And Justin is not a trustee, but,
Right, he attends the meetings.
yeah.
So, and I apologize, and Bill, I'm directing this question to you only because of my gross ignorance. So they're capable, because the architect would be $9,000 or less, to hire whatever architect strikes their fancy? Or they would have to put it through the local design?
No, I think that the
procedure?
threshold would derive from the
Quality
project
of the
cost.
project.
And then you would have a process that's spelled out in that document. I don't want to misspeak, so,
Oh, no,
I was unsure
understand.
of the scope and topic of discussion tonight, so. There's also another thing in here, that first link is IG procurement charts. That has within one of those charts is a link for the designer selection thresholds. So that goes over dollar amounts in that chart there too, on the proper process.
Okay, so.
Do you know what the possibilities are in terms of dollars for the grant? How much you can ask for?
I don't
I
know.
want to say it was 200,000 or 250,000, but
That's
I don't
it?
exactly remember. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Maybe it'll clarify some things. I think the discussion might be a little past where they need to be right now or what they desire to be at. Because they reached out to me, Matt referred myself to Dawn, that's why I had asked you what the procedure would be, whether or not I would participate in the subcommittee. But I think what they need to do first is identify actually what they need and what they want to do before they go for a designer or anything like that. They've already identified that there's a grant out there. And correct me if I'm wrong, what they're seeking is just a little assistance to try to identify what the job is, not somebody from the committee to design it or help them pick who the architect's gonna be or the contractor or anything like that, but to help them, give them some guidance so they can navigate through this information that they're getting.
Right, that's
If I'm
correct.
correct. So
That's correct.
that's what they're actually looking for at this stage. This is very early for them, but they've taken on this project, so they're digging into it, and they're getting into an area they have no idea what they're looking at. So
Right.
they're looking for a little assistance, that's why they reached out to Matt. And Matt turned around and referred them to me only because of my background and what I'm doing with this committee. And then that's why I checked with you to find out if there was a conflict. I don't think there is, but even if there was, and if I helped them through that process, if I had to step out of the conversation, then I'd step out of the conversation, because everybody here is more than capable of making their decisions that they need to make. Because I'm not gonna direct them into an area that's gonna be a big cluster at the end of it. Well, lack of a better description, it's just, I'm happy to help, but I also respect where I am on this committee, so I wanna protect that. But I'm not, in a position where I say, no, I can't help you because, I'm on this, because I don't think it would hinder anything that we're doing on this committee, because we're not gonna get involved in anything in that library that you would actually need me to decipher for you, I guess.
Well, in terms of what the grant requires for the actual application for the grant, does that require actual plans from an architect?
I believe it
Yes.
does.
Okay. And are there funds available to retain an architect that anybody knows of?
Yes.
There is. And so you're looking at this point for assistance from the board in terms of how to, not how to get the architect, but how to get the ideas that you want to present to the architect?
To identify,
If I'm not,
to identify the project, to define
scope.
what it is that they're looking to do, whether they want a bathroom, they want an elevator, whether they want to pave the whole parking lot or one parking lot. Just give them an outline of what they need to do, and then an architect's gonna get involved. That wouldn't even be my role in anything like that, because they have to do a full code review and all this other stuff that goes along with it. But just to help them identify what they need to do.
So you know what you want, is that correct?
We know, right, we know there's like 3 components to it: the bathrooms, the elevator, and potentially the paving.
So you know that's what you want, so now
Right.
you need to find out.
We need the
How do I get
professionals.
there to get that?
Right,
You're
right.
looking for somebody
To guide us.
To guide you.
And the idea with
To
this.
help them define the
And then,
scope.
so
To
what we're
guide them.
asking for is a little bit of a subcommittee, which again, Matt had said was fine. So that we're not, having multiple library meetings and BFCC meetings, tying up everyone's time, a little bit more of a nimble way to communicate and then come back with it when it's more fully formed.
Yep, that makes perfect sense.
And it would be more fully formed once you get the grant, because then it
Well,
would be
we-
$200,000 or
formed to
more,
get
and
the
then we
grant.
could get
We'd have to
involved.
come, it looks like we'd have to come back, so the grant is like about 10 months away when we'd have to put it in, so then we would probably come back before then and talk to you about it. At that point was drawn out plans and a real plan for the whole thing. But at this point,
I'm not being, but when you say plans, tell me if I'm wrong, like, plans are something that I envision architects doing.
When
So
they
I'm-
get to that point, this very preliminary situation that they're asking or suggesting is just to help them scope out what they need. Before they engage for plans and everything else, they're gonna follow all these different rules that Bill is put the links on. They're not trying to get away from that. What they're trying to do is, lack of a better term, I wanna build a house, but I don't know how to do it. So can you show me where I start and what should I be looking at? That's what they're looking for, because otherwise, typically, people ask me all the time, do I need an architect if we're doing a residential house? You can get one if you want. It may help you and it may complicate it. So instead of them ending up with this big elaborate plan that may not work for them, they can identify what their actual needs are and at least go to the architect with some idea when they go through the proper procedure to choose this architect, with some good ideas of what they want. So then they can help guide the architect into the direction they want to go instead of just, okay, so let me look at, I guess it looks good. And that's what typically happens in an architecture situation. And if I'm wrong, just
Yeah.
correct me, that's fine. And this is how I'm interpreting what you,
This is exactly,
what you're
well, this is
asking
sort of
for.
exactly what we want. We
Yeah.
want someone who's got the information that we don't have, because we're here to support the library. We don't know anything about building, so the idea is that we want someone who can guide us through the building and save money and time in the scope of things.
So have you, as a subcommittee, looked at the plans, the last plans
So I was
that were
gonna
drawn up?
I-
And what
I
could
think
you
so.
use out of that, or what do you not like or like about it?
Are you
And-
talking about the plans from 2008 or 18?
There's so many. The
December
2.5 million
98.
plan?
The Derlin Van Boris.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Is that what
No,
that is,
the
Sterling and
Van-
Van Boris?
These are different plans
Yeah.
that
Yeah, that's
Dixon
not-
Sallow did, that, these just came to us, a couple weeks ago, and, these seem to be more in line with the sketch that we had,
When were those drawn?
May I see that?
December 98.
Do you know who did this?
That was that
Dixon Sallow.
$100,000
Who
one?
actually was
Remember
one of the
the
paper
recommended.
was
architects.
No, that was Farley, wasn't it?
That was Farley.
That was
But
Farley.
I don't want to
This is
complicate
before
things, because
Farley.
neither of the
This is
plans
Salem.
are right, and that wasn't what that's why we're not having that conversation yet, because we're not ready to show you plans yet, we're not
We
here
know
to
that.
No, we
talk
know
plans.
that.
We
but
understand that.
What I'm asking, I think the last plans that I remember was been,
Derlin Van Boris.
yeah.
Who's out of business now.
Because, yeah, but that's fine, you still have the plans.
Yeah, they were not workable, they were gonna, from what I understand, they were gonna end up being a lot more expensive than what was sketched out.
And I'm not saying to use
But can we
those,
use part of them?
but is there anything there that would give you a basis to begin with?
Like the
Actually-
parts are
Okay,
totally
okay.
different.
So-
It is totally different.
Actually, those plans were workable,
Yep.
But I think-
without question. I don't know who told you that, yes.
Well, a lot has changed since then.
Of course, now
But-
they don't,
Parking
they're not
areas.
relevant now.
Yeah.
But,
Parts of it
But-
aren't relevant, but parts of it are relevant.
Anyone, sorry, Mike, please.
Okay, so just for a little clarity, I wouldn't totally dismiss all these plans that they have, myself personally. I
You
would
would
see
or
what
you
that,
wouldn't?
I would not dismiss them. What I would do is
Right.
I would see what they wanted to do and actually look through these other plans to see if there was anything in there that we could use that's already been designed.
Yep.
I don't know if that's what, if that's what you're asking and
Yeah.
stuff, it wouldn't be totally dismissed, because there may be stuff in there
Yeah,
that we can use,
I don't have a
so
copy of those, but
we
they're
just-
in the
we
links,
just
I'm
be
sure.
open to looking at that. And I would think that would be the purpose
The
of
wise
the
thing to
subcommittee,
do.
to just find out what's the best avenue, and the best thing to do
Right.
is take stuff that's already drawn, because it's already figured out for the building.
Yeah.
And say, yes, this works, or no, that doesn't work, as far as, I think, and I don't have the Charlie plans in my head. This was conversation that I had with Justin at one point, a year ago or whatever. As far as the entrance was gonna come in through, there was gonna be a staircase that came through, and it came right into the main
Yeah, it was right in
desk
the
area.
middle, right? Which
No,
is
right
very
in the middle,
different.
and he didn't feel that it met.
Who didn't
his
feel
need.
what?
Justin didn't feel that it met his need. Well,
Librarian.
whatever, he's there on a daily basis.
Right.
He understands the workings of that library and what's
Yeah.
gonna suit his needs. So I would take his input in that, because it's not fair for somebody to say, no, that would work or not work, because you don't know the intimate workings of the building.
Yeah.
So I would take that information, have his input, as well as these plans that they have, their ideas, and see what we could gel together to have a reasonable plan going forward.
And, oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
And in terms of the subcommittee, I'm assuming, Mike, you would want to be a member.
Well, I would have no issue with it, and if I did, I would've just told, if I didn't, I would've told them no right off the bat. I wouldn't have bothered asking you your opinion as far as, and you being the chair, that's the reason why I asked you, just respecting your position, to make sure it doesn't interfere with what we're doing. But then, thinking through it and everything, through the process, it's really not much different than when Shirley was on the school building committee and on this committee.
Right.
There's just, you gotta be careful not to violate open meeting laws and talk about things that, from one committee to the other, so you have, lack of a better description, cross-contamination. You make sure that everybody's present to talk about the things that you need to talk about.
And at that time, I was the representative from the school, appointed by the school.
Yep. But I don't think it's as complicated as we think it is. I think this is just very preliminary to look at, to help them come up with some ideas to outline what they're looking to do, so then they can move forward to the next step.
Right, we're kind of in a holding pattern at the moment, not knowing.
So they started getting information and they have no idea what they're talking about.
Exactly.
So
We talked to a lot of people.
This is why they're reaching out.
Well,
So
at least
who
you're
do
sensible
they
enough
reach?
to know what you
Thank
know
you.
and what you don't know.
Yeah, that's right.
Because that's the only way you're gonna move forward in any
Right.
kind of productive way.
Right.
So I think that's great.
We don't want to miss the whole cycle again. I guess we're doing it early enough, I
Good for
think.
you.
Right.
So, Shirley, please.
As a suggestion, though, I think whether it's subcommittee that starts with ideas and thoughts, I think to move forward, you have to have your whole committee, your library board on board.
I agree.
Because too many times,
You're dead in the water if they're not.
The whole library committee.
but get the
trustees.
plans,
Yeah.
you know, get the thoughts together, take it to the library board. Because if it's too much money or whatever,
If somebody doesn't like
I-
the plan,
Sure.
we're just gonna be
I'd like
treading
to
water.
say-
Yeah,
Right.
just one, who formed this subcommittee?
It was discussed in a library trustees meeting that we'd like to form a subcommittee.
Oh, it's
And it was
not
a-
formed.
yeah.
No.
It's not officially formed.
No, but it's something that the trustees.
All of the
Yes.
trustees.
Right, so I would think that the normal course would be that they do their homework and they have to go back to their committee long before they
Exactly.
come here. I don't think it's,
Exactly, that's the
it-
plan.
the impression is, well, I don't know.
She's just saying a word to the wise.
She's been through this.
Many times, and so have I. I was
Yes.
on that committee
Okay.
way back, when we
Yeah.
had the money, by the way.
Yeah.
And I would suggest that the library board vote and have it on record that they are voting to have or form a subcommittee.
I believe we did that.
Formal vote in the minutes?
In the
I'll have to
minutes.
double check if it was a
Have to check the
formal
minutes.
vote, but everybody, at least informally, agreed to it.
Have it in the minutes.
Yeah. Okay.
So does that mean that the general consensus of the board is that there's no objection to a subcommittee?
From our board?
From our board.
No, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
And the membership of that subcommittee, I think, is gonna be Mr. Fitzpatrick.
I don't have a problem with it.
And should we take a vote to that effect?
Probably be
Well, no, I don't think so, because it's up to him if he wants to.
Yeah, it's
No,
really-
Join another
but
committee.
they have the support of the board, I think you should take a vote on it.
Or at least
I'm
a general
I'm gonna
consensus.
abstain because I don't want to influence.
We could have a tie
No.
then.
Yeah, potentially, yes. Potentially, yes.
But I,
I will express, again, my concern, and it's not a concern, because I think Mr. Fitzpatrick has a great deal to offer, and a great deal, hopefully, of guidance and information to supply. Because I think it sounds like you guys want a fresh start, and you want to put together a fresh start
Right.
with fresh thinking, and with new ideas, and with skilled thinkers. And Mr. Fitzpatrick fits that to a T.
With the, at the
Um,
same time, trying to incorporate some of the ideas that's already been.
But as long as, I would agree that this, but just, I guess I'm throwing it out for the record, that you are not acting as an architect,
No,
nor is any member of this board, or any decision of this board, acting in the form of an architect. It is simply to begin the preliminary process of going to the process of going into designer selection, that is the desire of the subcommittee. And I think that- I'm curious if the board disagrees with that as a consensus or not.
I think that's what we've been talking about.
good
Yes,
idea.
yeah,
I
I'd
also-
like to review the designer selection procedures, just so, you know, because I think this committee has a role in that,
Yes, we do.
so.
No, but I guess I'm just suggesting that there is absolutely a role, I think, that we have to play in that. But that subcommittee is not playing that role. That subcommittee is doing something less, which is in essence, I think, giving the guidance of just the sort of,
Laying out the scope.
like, yes, or even the preliminary scope, not necessarily even
Right.
the final scope. That would be part of the process.
Schematic, yeah.
The preliminary scope that would be brought to the boards and then actually acted upon.
Okay.
Because I think that there's a difference in
Scheduling and stuff like that.
and also
Yeah.
the official act, I guess, of what the board's doing.
Right.
No? Or,
Yeah.
should,
I would also suggest that community development, Bill has been, he's here, working for the town to help.
Yes, we expect
And
you to do
you
that.
need to also involve input.
Right, definitely.
Past experience, I always reach out to Bill and
Yeah.
ask him for his input.
Yeah.
So, I'm extremely cautious so I don't violate any
Mm-hmm.
of our little rules and stuff. What I think what would be a good idea is clarity from you two as to where I start and stop. And when you get to the designer process, am I out of it? Which I'm perfectly fine with that because I don't necessarily think that you'll need me at that point, after that point.
Yeah, and I don't know if we'll have all the answers now, because we did have two possible architects who were ready, who both had the right kind of experience,
Right.
municipal experience, to work with this, but I'm unclear a little bit if we can just proceed with those folks to do the, less
No,
expensive
because
plans.
that's what they're talking about, is the designer portion of it. I think that's a little premature, if you want my opinion on it.
Yeah.
It's a little premature to go to the architect stage yet, because it's not gonna be clear what you want.
Yeah.
You need to stop for a minute, figure out what you want. You talked about 3 components, but identify that. Just identify what the scope of the job is.
Yeah,
Estimated
And
cost,
I,
real
it's like
general.
we're talking about the parking lot pavement and stuff. I will reach out to Bill, I'm sure he already
I
anticipates
can
that, but I'll
forward
ask him, and we'll
this
get
email.
what the actual rule is on what we can do and what we can't do there. Instead of relying on the architect to tell us what we need to do, we need to find out what the rules are.
right.
think,
And this,
so.
I think it's a woman, seems very, very knowledgeable from the Mass Office on Disability, and again, I can forward this email with the links in it, but that seems to have, if someone can decipher it, should have all the information in there, or, we could contact her as well. But.
Yeah, moving forward, we can dig into that stuff. The first
Yeah.
thing would be just trying to come up with a scope of work and then figuring out what we can do before you even get to the designer.
Yeah.
Because then you can decide what you need the designing person to do. Because if you don't have anything prepared, their fee is higher because they're gonna be doing everything. If you outline what they need to do, they can price
Yeah.
it. We do this on our committee, we say we want 1 inspection during the course of the job, or 3 inspections, or whatever the case may be. You spec out what it is that you need.
Yeah,
So, you're in control of that.
right,
If you take a passive role, they can say, oh, you need everything on the table.
yeah,
And that's not what you wanna do.
yeah, okay,
So,
Well, and I think with Bill and with Mike as kind of a resource, then you
You
get
won't go
the
down the wrong
idea
path.
of, okay, this is gonna cost us X amount of dollars, or possible X amount of dollars, then you have to really look at that and see where we
Right.
go from here.
right,
I think they pick the right people to bounce things off, and
Right.
basically that's what you're talking about,
Right.
somebody to bounce stuff off.
right,
Because they're not the decision makers. But,
right.
Yep. Agreed.
so it's agreed that when we get to you're gonna move forward with the design, you don't need me anymore. Kick me to the curb. to go.
I mean, we'd love to have you review.
No,
still be
no,
part of review,
no,
but
I can
yes,
help you
not
with
a
as much as I
decision
can with that,
maker.
but at some point, I need to know where I'm stopping. And when you start getting into the project and stuff, I don't think that's where I should be in. Because I think it's already identified at that point.
Defining the scope, I think, is
If you
where-
if you need help with that, the other part of it, like you just said, reviewing, talk to Bill, come back to the committee,
Okay.
whatever, there's ways for you to do that.
Okay, as long as we. don't
I have answers for you, but I don't have all the answers.
Understand it all ourselves.
But you do it as a team effort. It's like,
Yeah.
once you figure out what it is that you want to do, you go back to your board, they agree to it, then if you want to, you come
You
back
have to
here,
have
you
their
you
support.
talk to
If you
everybody
don't have their
here,
support,
and
don't even waste your time.
Yeah.
get everybody on the
Talked
same
about
page,
it
it's
quite
gonna be
extensively.
easier for
We
you.
have, and,
Yeah.
and some were concerned when we first didn't have the bathroom as part of it, but now with the bathroom, it's pretty much unanimous that that is what everybody wanted to do. So.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Well, I'd
It'll
love
be
to
good
see
for
the
everybody when
library.
it happens.
Well, I'd love to see
I
the
don't-
library the way
I-
it's supposed to be.
I apologize, and I don't mean to be unnecessarily picky, but it isn't unanimous on what you want to do or want to have done. You need assistance with the subcommittee and in terms of looking at how things would go forward.
I
Or
guess,
is-
so we
Well,
know, like,
If you
again,
know, if you are unanimous in what you need and intend to do, why would we need a subcommittee to meet?
we
and
know
then
we
go over?
want the elevator, and we know we want the bathrooms redone. We don't know if we need the paving done, if we need to incur that expense. And we don't know the cheapest and best route
So
for
there's
the
there's
bathroom.
still some ambiguity in
Yes.
all of that.
Right.
I did just the way the language that you used, I apologize, I just wanted to
That's
make sure
okay,
that,
just, yeah.
I wanted to
Sean's the
understand
lawyer.
appropriately.
Okay,
That
that makes
explains
sense.
it.
You had to say that, right?
I think that's necessary,
Yes,
absolutely.
I agree.
Because then we've crossed the line into doing something different than
Right.
preparing the scope. We are, in fact, having a member of the board arguably try to be an architect.
No.
And I mean that not in any
No,
disrespect
no,
whatsoever,
no,
Mr.
no,
Patrick.
but
If you would
I'm
do
all
anything
for full
inappropriate.
transparency. It's a better way to go
Yeah.
for everybody involved, and I think it would move a lot smoother forward, because in the past, prior to everybody, it wasn't always that way.
Yeah,
And again, I just can't say it enough, you need to have all your board on board, because if you don't,
You're done.
right. Yep, so the idea is we'll update them each month and
yeah,
possibly
And
in
when they
between.
object to something, you have to meet that objection and overcome it,
Mhm.
or you're gonna have to walk away. This has been many years,
Mhm.
trying to fix that library.
You've seen all the plans.
How old is that building?
Yeah.
yeah. Keep us all posted and.
Good.
Okay.
I'll
luck.
plan on keeping it on the agenda and
Yep.
just give you updates
Yes.
as we
Good.
need.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yep.
And
The
no vote
updates
or
will
no
come-
vote, or-
Updates will come from Bill, not from me.
That is how you wish?
they
Consensus
didn't
is
vote.
consensus
I don't want to,
sufficient?
I don't want to violate other little meeting rules.
Yes,
Okay, consensus is, we're in agreement?
with
Yes.
Yeah.
the acting subcommittee.
Nice to have a fresh start with fresh faces.
Yes. Okay.
Relatively.
You notice I did this.
I thought you were waving at me.
I didn't do this.
I thought you were going
I
like
didn't
this.
do this. I
But you're
did
giving
this.
the old parade wave.
Don't get confused.
All right.
And I mean, you know, input
We'll
from.
see how fresh we look by the end of the process.
Input
Don't
from
get off the
Justin,
ship,
input
please.
from Justin.
Yes, very
That's
much.
definitely.
But
Yeah.
you're the committee.
Right.
You're the board of,
Right.
on the library board.
Yeah.
But listen to what he says.
But he doesn't drive the process.
You know,
Yeah.
you
And just-
people need to come to the board or to your board,
Yes.
not
we know.
Justin.
Yes, we know that. He's part of, he's on the, not a trustee, but he's there.
Understand, but
He's not the snowball
You
thrower.
need to listen.
You
Right.
have to throw your own snowballs.
Right,
he works for the town.
right. Right, so, and just so that you're all not concerned that he's not a part of it, he, you know, it was so preliminary that we didn't feel he needed to be here at this point.
Yeah.
Just wanted to-
Yep. No, you can get input from him, but you're the people that are doing the process.
You're driving the process and you're making the decisions.
Yeah.
You're not him, he's an employee.
Right.
And you're the trustees.
Yeah. We hold the purse strings. Okay, thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
See you guys.
And I apologize for the last 2 weeks ago.
Oh, that's okay.
Debacle. It was all my fault.
It happens.
Very patient.
Okay.
In Sean's defense, he did call, we just did not get the message.
I took it, I took full responsibility. I didn't ask to hide behind anything.
So, yeah, just send me an
Yeah.
email
Yeah.
and then let me know what your plan.
Okay.
Thank
All right,
you.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Thanks everyone. Good night.
So I believe that means that we move on, unless there's more discussion to be had, do we move on to agenda 2? And does that bring Mr. Furno in, to pour Mr. Furno in the back, or does he want to stay in the back? And he's drinking his coffee, which I don't blame him
Trying to get
for.
up there.
Come on up, Adam.
Oh, wait.
Unless he, I don't know.
So Green Communities, as you know, we submitted for and we did receive an award for $220,989.
Yeah.
The projects that are listed below on the notice are the ones we're proceeding on. In fact, to that end, we did meet with the state and with CMRPC. CMRPC is our consultant on this, and we're moving forward. We've already signed the agreement for the police station HVAC improvements and the municipal center weatherization. Ideally, we still have to talk to the vendors about the schedule, but ideally, we'll get that done before snow flies, and that's the goal. Whether or not that's attainable is a different story. We'll see. I'll keep you posted on that.
What does the weatherization include, do you know?
Inside your packet, sorry. I was just reading
The
it
full,
actually.
full scope of the
Yeah,
proposal.
I was just reading it back there.
Oh, yeah.
But it just an overview was some.
So these contracts already been signed?
The police station HVAC has been signed and the weatherization has been signed. The primary school LED lighting, we're expecting will be done during the summer months when school is closed. And then the administrative cost is CMRPC.
Did these come before the committee?
I think I updated you previously on us applying for those.
You did.
um, as part of our energy reduction plan, which is linked in the agenda. Matt wanted to get moving on it, so he signed those literally today. So,
Okay, so how's that work with our committee?
just updating you.
No, I'm asking because we already went through this when we were at the $10,000 limit with the post office and the highway bond and the roof and the paint. Highway bond was $13,000, that was clearly over the 10. The painting was $19,000, that was clearly over the
Okay,
10.
I
Then it
see
got
where you're
raised to
going.
$50,000, and now both of these are over.
Yep, no, I see where you're going.
Yes. And we did the
There-
bridge last year at $220,000.
There is a statutory exemption for green energy projects, and these qualify under that exemption in terms of procurement. So this this is exempt from state procurement requirements because it's a green energy project.
Okay, is there anything else that we're exempt from? Yeah, I just want to know, because I'm not going to keep going in circles with this. We have rules that we put in place and we're not following.
I mean,
Just-
the world of things, Mike, I probably couldn't tell you. I'd probably defer to the counselor, but,
Pleading the fifth, as I always do.
but I'm sure there are other, for example, you don't have to go out for procurement if you use a state-listed vendor, okay? So there are pre-approved contracts that the state puts out that we could award projects to.
Okay,
Like
so,
we
no,
did
that-
with the HVAC thing, the duct cleaning, I think. There's certain activities that are exempt if they have a pre-approved state contract,
Okay, that's fine. That's state law, right?
state law. yeah.
Okay, so how's that apply to our bylaw for this committee? I'm just
I'll
asking.
answer that one, the state law wins,
Does it?
state law trumps. I feel
Well, I
very
don't think
comfortable
they're-
saying that. I mean, I'm not, that's very
I'm
generic.
just asking.
I don't think they're in conflict, though. I think they're consistent with.
But that was
one another.
that wasn't the question posed.
Yes.
The question posed was when it comes to whether or not there's a state law and a town law, state law
The
trumps.
role of
I
the
wasn't talking
committee
about
is
the
to make
specific
sure
piece.
that projects are being procured properly. And with the state exemption on the green energy procurement requirements, granted, we didn't take a vote for a recommendation, and we should or could do so. It's exempt, is the bottom line, per state law. So it's consistent with state law and our bylaw, if that makes sense.
When did we get that grant? $220,989.
It was
We
in
got
the
it
paper
September
recently.
17th?
Yeah.
He did it the day it came in.
Okay. So when we apply for it?
Last fall?
Yeah.
Last fall? Yeah.
They sent us an email too, saying
Yeah.
congratulations.
Yeah, I'm just,
And it was-
Okay, I
I
just
don't
didn't know
recall
if
all the emails, that's why I'm asking the question.
It was in the
No, I'm glad we were.
newspaper,
Yeah.
where one of.
Right,
many-
in the rush last year, we were pushing hard to get the LED streetlight project completed so that we could qualify for this round, and this is called a competitive grant round.
Yep.
The first one was a designation grant where we did the streetlights over. We had to complete the designation grant fully before we could apply for the competitive grant. So we pushed hard to get that project done so that we could apply for this grant round instead of waiting a year for the next grant round.
So this grant came in September 17th.
Yes.
And when were the contracts awarded?
Today.
Today. So you're talking, what, 5 weeks? 5 weeks later, so he knew in that short period of time that people applied and everything else before it. He made the decision? Or were they already in the queue before the September 17th?
I'm not following the question, Mike.
How did he get the persons that he awarded it to?
The people that were awarded the contract assisted with the grant application. So, I mean, CMRPC, we came across them through CMRPC, frankly. They recommended them, so we used them for assistance on the grant
Who actually
application.
chose these people?
Well, the administrator, chief procurement officer.
Because the statute allows him to do that because it's exempt from our board by state law. Or no, am I saying, am I making a misstatement?
No, that's correct.
In other words, it's beyond our voting powers,
And again,
It's under 100,000.
by exemption.
and again, we're only a recommending board that goes to the Board of Selectmen.
Right,
So
right.
they have the decision.
Yeah, there's no doubt in my mind that that's what our position is.
Yeah.
But I didn't know it was selective as to when we would be a recommending board. If it's in excess of $50,000, that's what drives my question. We're charged with whatever is $50,000 or greater to make our recommendations for the projects, correct?
So, correct me if I'm wrong, sorry if I speak.
Oh, please.
We have not selected, they have been selected.
No, it's already done.
Right, I understand
Yeah.
that, but what I'm saying is, because we're not involved in that process, if something goes wrong, we had no say.
Well, even if we were involved in a process and
Well,
something
you
went
take
wrong, we are
responsibility
not the
for
ones
what you
that's
do
actually,
or don't.
we're making a recommendation, we're not
Right.
making the selection, so therefore we wouldn't. That part of it, I guess, would be irrelevant. The
So-
question remains about the $50,000 threshold.
So in other
That's
words, your
all.
question is, what are we here for? Pretty much.
Well, no, it's just, I know what we're here for. I don't know if you're confused about it, but
Chat,
we're here for the
because-
majority of the other things that are on here.
It's a big
What
project.
I'm looking at, okay, aggregate amounts. So if you have 86,000 here, 71,000 there, and whatever else, that can add up to some pretty big numbers pretty quick.
And so,
And so, I don't know, get your tax bill in, so it affects you,
Right?
okay? So this committee is to help with that process. So if you're not involved in the process, I don't understand what we're doing with it. Why is it even on the list?
We shouldn't have
Well,
anything to do
I
with
think,
this.
my understanding is if the job is over $50,000, then it would at least come through here. And what raises this question is how many meetings have we had since spring? We've missed a few of them. And then we finally have a meeting. Oh yeah, by the way, we awarded these things.
But I believe, but Bill, I don't know the law, and I haven't read the law off the top
It's
of my head.
57A, I think, but I don't want to.
But I believe that what Bill is saying is that this particular issue, because it involves conservation of energy, is exempt from the oversight of boards like ours. It goes directly to whoever the authorizing.
From state procurement requirements.
For state procurement, yes.
I got all
We're
that.
trumped.
What happened?
In other
is-
words, we're trumped.
Yeah.
So so you're saying we're trumped, so why do we have it on the agenda? I think it's good to have on the agenda, just to have that information out in the public.
Yep.
Well, isn't it best for our community to know that these things
Absolutely.
are happening?
My
And it-
question started about the threshold limit, and that was answered
Oh,
with the
okay.
being exempt from it.
Okay.
And then it was asked is why would I be concerned about it?
Oh, I'm sorry,
And that's why I'm concerned about it, is because it's over the threshold limit and the aggregate amount. And this isn't, it's not like it's the first one, and I'm not disputing that we as a town awarded it to these contractors. I'm sure that everything is perfectly fine with that. But I just want clarity as to if we're supposed to be looking at things at $50,000 or more, why didn't we look at it? And Bill answered the question, because it's exempt. Okay, and then I asked, well, so what else is exempt? So then I don't have to keep asking this, right? We got to the water line going across the bridge and the quick repair because the trailer truck went in the culvert and
That's
there was
right.
a steel
That's a
plate
good-
over and
good
all
point.
that.
Yeah,
It was
that's a good example.
$220,000. And
While that's
well,
exempt,
it was
it still has
an
to go through
emergency job
procurement.
and it had to be done right away and all this other stuff. Okay, I can appreciate all that, but at the same time, we're responsible for, it's an oversight committee, basically. You're looking to make sure that things are going properly forward, just as when these trustees were sitting there, as far as your designer process and everything else, we're holding them to that standard. Well,
That's our
they're
responsibility as a
also,
board.
yeah, but they're
That's my
also,
point.
everybody else is
Right.
on the same standard. We don't have mixed standards for everybody, so, I just want it clear, if I'm not supposed to worry about that, then I won't worry about it. So now I know that the energy stuff is exempt, I won't even bring it up again. But if a highway bond roof gets done again or whatever, and it's excess of $50,000 and it gets done without coming in front, I will ask the question again.
And,
I-
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
I would hope that you would never hesitate to ask those questions and to point out
Oh,
those
yeah.
issues,
Yeah.
because they can only see those as assets to
Yeah.
the board
Yeah, I
of the
hope
town.
I didn't
don't
offend
mean to-
anybody by bringing this
No.
up.
No,
but
no,
it-
quite the opposite.
It's a
No.
Quite the opposite.
concern
You made an
because I
excellent
see,
point.
I'm looking at the dollar amounts. If it said 46 and 41, I wouldn't even say a word. It says 86 and 71, I have to ask the question because it's over 50,000.
If I may.
Please.
So originally, when this board first started, it was anything over, I
10.
believe, 10,000.
Right.
So the town voted to go with what was recommended by, I believe, the state.
State increased the procurement thresholds from 10 to
Right.
50.
But
Big leap.
I personally think that we as townspeople and this board is important because we are more aware than the state is as to what's going on in every community. And I think we do need to be aware and continue to review it and make some recommendations if we think things aren't quite what they should be. And, yeah, they can still go ahead and the selectmen can vote to go ahead because it's not, it's over 50,000, but I still think it's a good idea to have the members of this board review it.
especially at the $50,000 threshold.
Right.
It's not as dangerous as, it's more dangerous than what the $10,000 one, because your aggregate amount.
Yeah.
If you have 4,000 or 5,000, $250,000 spent real quick.
Yep. So, good.
So I just want to say, you know, some time ago Shirley asked that we have this as a standing item
I
on
did.
our agenda. And so I've been carrying it on there, and I've been trying to update the board on all the various projects that have been ongoing. It's unfortunate we did not meet a week ago because,
Excuse me, I have to leave you, we have a fire call.
Oh,
That was my phone call.
Good luck.
Thank
Good
you.
luck, Adam.
Whoa, I seen you texting
wait,
somebody just.
I thought that was your wife calling.
Yeah, good job, it was John, he's on his way back from the meeting.
Yeah, he said, honey, I'll be right home. That's how you talk to John, huh?
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Aaron.
good luck.
Good night.
So, the goal was, after the award notice came in, we met with the state, so we, you know, we're trying to figure out process and procedure. Then we got the contracts from the proposer. We had those for the last meeting, prior to the contract being signed. So we did have a small window of opportunity to make a recommendation at that point, prior to the contracts being signed. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do, is trying to keep you in the loop on the latest, most current information,
Right.
which in this case, we could have had an opportunity to make a recommendation, but unfortunately, we didn't have quorum. So Matt wanted to try and get the project done this year, which is what motivated him to kind of move it along. So,
So it's not exempt?
no, it is exempt, but I
It
don't
is
see a
exempt.
downside.
That's what he's saying.
I don't,
I don't mean to be in any way disrespectful, but what I just heard
Right,
was that this board should have reviewed this material,
or could have.
should have made a recommendation, but because we didn't meet, because we didn't have a quorum, we didn't do that, and therefore, I guess, failed in our obligations.
I always-
However, I thought we said earlier that in fact, this project was exempt, such that our recommendation was irrelevant, because it is exempt from our recommendations.
From procurement
So now-
requirements.
For procurement
okay,
requirements.
so,
So at the moment, it sounds to me as if we have an obligation to possibly submit a vote to the Board of Selectmen saying, well, there hasn't been sufficient time to truly investigate these issues,
It's already been awarded.
and therefore, we can't recommend it.
this committee was
But it's been
designated.
exempted. Otherwise, it's exempted.
This is, I want to be clear about this, okay?
Sure.
This is exempt from procurement requirements. That does not mean we can't make a recommendation anyway, okay? We can make a recommendation even if a project is not exempt, or is exempt. It doesn't matter. We're charged with making recommendations that require procurement procedures to be followed, okay? That's part of our charge. So we're obligated to do that. We can make a recommendation even though we're not obligated to do that. The Board of Selectmen some time ago designated this committee as the Green Committee, whatever that means. I'm not sure what that means. But nonetheless, that's the weight of, you know, the value of that type of work, I guess, green projects, your input on green projects to them. I think that's where that lies.
But they're exempt.
There's no, they're exempt, I want to say again, they're exempt from
Yeah.
state procurement
Yeah,
requirements.
yeah.
I can't make that any more clear, I
Yeah.
can't say it a different way.
And don't misunderstand me. I understand you're the messenger, okay? The way I see this is, and that's why I was asking about different timelines, is there's no way it was only a week's time to make that decision on this. And if the committee was considered in that process, then the chairman should have been notified, and we would have made sure that we met to look at whatever things that we could look at. And I'm not trying to upset the whole process, I just want to make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing.
I mean, basically, we have an obligation,
Yeah, I
a
think so.
responsibility, and we want to see that we meet that, basically is what you're saying.
Correct.
And if we don't agree and we say so,
Mm-hmm.
we need to be on the record.
I think we beat it up enough.
Yeah, the horse is dead.
All right, then we will move on to another agenda item. The number 3, the police department windows.
Okay, in your packet, you have a few things. Again, since last week, we have received bids from 3 window vendors, and they should be in your packet. It's an
By chance, was
email.
Verika in there?
Was what?
Was Verika in there?
Verika was one of the 3, yes, the low bid. So it's an email, looks like this. Okay.
No. okay.
Okay. And you'll see for the police windows, we got a range with Verika coming in low of 73,300, Tower Construction Corp. of 83,000, and Builders Systems Inc. of 102,000. So this came in on Tuesday. I'm suggesting that we recommend award to Verika for a couple of reasons. They did the first floor windows, they did a stellar job, and interestingly, they came in as low bid.
Nice.
I'd like to add to that, Verika was very responsive. There was one issue when we had on the front of the building on the install with some flashing tape, pointed it out to them, they didn't even hesitate, and they corrected the problem immediately. That's why I asked if Verika was on the list. They're a very responsible company as far as what we experience with the front,
Yeah.
front windows. Hopefully, they still have the same management group,
Yeah.
but past experience proved well for us.
So if there are no other issues or to be discussed about that, would anybody want to make a motion that we accept, we recommend that the selectmen accept the bid of Verika?
I have a question. This includes the blinds?
This includes blinds, yes.
I move that we approve Verika as a recommendation for the windows in the police department.
Second.
The matter has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? No discussion, we can take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Matter passes unanimously.
I'll let them know.
When are they gonna possibly?
In your packet is a microscopic
Yes.
project schedule from George.
Bill printed this out with his Hubble telescope.
Oh, I've seen it smaller.
Yeah, I know, but George isn't here tonight.
Good old George.
I can't tell you how many
Oh my
Cedar
God.
Street Bridge things I have,
Yeah.
but not other. I think I have 4, and some of the others I don't have.
I cannot speak
No,
to
don't
that,
even go
Shirley.
there. It's okay.
So did
Thank
they
you.
get their bulletproof glass in the various rooms?
No. Sorry.
Okay.
Sure. Please find it.
No, it's not here.
You want my schedule, Shirley?
You can have mine. I can't read it anyway.
Thank you. Thank
Well, you got one of those little magnifiers at home, the lights with the ring?
They have them for your head too. They just-
So. Municipal backup highway.
So are any items of discussion on the police department windows? There being none, we could move on, if it's not objectionable, to item number 4, the municipal backup generator.
How many Cedar Street Bridge budgets do I have?
You have all the ones that need to be passed out, Bill.
I have at least 4.
I don't have any.
You don't?
You don't?
I don't have
so.
any either.
Yeah.
Oh, they're way at the bottom of the pile.
I don't have any.
I have 0.
And I don't have my,
Cedar Street?
okay.
And one Cedar Street.
Just jumping over the generator to
I
the bridge.
have,
I have,
because I am the chairman.
Yes, I know, I'm looking for my budget on the generator.
I don't have one of those
Linda,
either.
do you have them?
Seriously,
I have four.
yeah, I do have
Yeah,
it.
Don't put it right.
I know.
Kristen, do you have them?
I have it now. Bill just gave it to me.
So what are we looking at now?
Okay.
Chair?
If anybody has a generator,
No.
So we were on the municipal backup generator was, I believe, the next item on the agenda.
Yeah.
But if there is nothing meaningful or important to be said, or is it?
No, very important.
Very important, I apologize.
Do you have a copy?
I don't have a copy, I apologize.
All right.
you have one?
So I'm going to be saying some approximate numbers. We did have a town meeting, I believe it was last fall, where money was appropriated, about $135,000 to replace the generator at the rear of this building. And that was voted and approved at town meeting, which caused us to move forward with this project. Since that time, the administrator has been working with the state on the Commonwealth Community Compact, and they just filed, with the assistance of Thompson Engineering, some language to basically, instead of having that generator, which just supplies the police department, basically upgrade the generator to one that will furnish power for the whole building. And in addition to that, some safety and redundancy for not only the IT room here, but also the IT information down at the police department. So that will roughly double the size of the grant that we're looking at. And that's an approximate value. So that's gone into the state. We should hear back shortly on that. And if that is successful, we will then proceed with putting it out to bid.
So when you say double, last fall, we voted 135,000.
So my understanding is the grant application was, that would be at least a match. So we're looking at somewhere between an additional 135 to 200.
Okay.
Because there's multiple issues with that when they did the review with multiple switching locations. It's not a single.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So the scope has changed and,
Well,
If we get the grant, the
Longer.
scope will change.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
the needs were identified by,
yeah.
who was it?
Kevin Thompson,
Yeah, Kevin Thompson.
Thompson
So
Engineering.
it was a little more elaborate than what was first anticipated.
But if that could be done, it would probably be a better.
It would.
Oh, no,
It
absolutely,
would.
the whole
Yeah.
building would be satisfied.
Yeah,
And they would view this building as a safety shelter. So,
Ah,
Right.
okay.
Which
so it'd have 24/7 power
Yeah.
would
capability.
so,
Does this become the
Right.
command center?
What we need
Yes.
anyway.
Right.
So,
so that's a good thing.
And this,
Yeah.
go ahead.
no, whatever.
And this would also be a command center.
Well,
For
because they're
emergencies.
working for the, those other programs. that we
Right.
put forward.
Because this is gonna be the only place that has power.
No, it's on your house.
Are you gonna put a generator in?
No, the same Nova Scotia.
An extension cord.
So no action at this point. That was just an update.
Thank you. So we can move on to item number 5, Bad Luck Pond.
Bad Luck Pond Outlet Bridge, which is also referred to as the Cedar Street Bridge. We're moving forward on the design. Basically, we're roughly at a 25% design status with that. So they've done the soil testing, they've done wetlands mapping, they've done some surveying. They've got the existing conditions down, and they're just starting to get into the design of it.
Okay.
Question on the bridge.
Please.
Is there any issues with that abutting property owner?
At this point, until a design's done, we haven't had any issues to date, but,
Yeah.
and we've communicated, we'd be on the property doing wetlands delineation, surveying and stuff like that, so we've
No, I'm just
we've
curious
had
if he
communication.
was aware of that we're moving forward to see
Yeah.
if there was not
Yeah,
gonna be a.
but in terms of design, we're not sure,
Yeah.
at this point, it's too early to
Right.
say.
Yep.
Yeah.
Any Any other questions, items of concern on that particular agenda item? We can move on then to the municipal fire alarm system, if that's not objectionable.
So this item and the next item, which is municipal gym windows, are kind of in the same status. However, we are, when Kevin Thompson was out meeting with us on the backup generator, we are also giving him some level of exposure to the municipal fire alarm with the theory that is, if there was some overlap of, plan creation and that sort of thing, they might be able to help us on the design end with the fire alarm as well. They do fire alarms, so that's something that, we're open to looking at. Maybe packaging that with the generator project, if it makes sense. But there's no real progress on the next two, the windows or the fire alarm at this point.
So, any possible idea as to when you'd be getting information on what they're doing with fire alarm and,
On the windows and the fire alarm?
yeah.
I don't, Shirley. I know the basketball season, last time we met, Ryan had asked that we look at possibly the springtime to do the work.
I think, I was thinking of the municipal backup generator and the municipal fire alarm.
Yeah.
The plans or the recommendation.
Again, it's too early to say. Let's first see if we do the whole building as part of the generator project.
Yeah.
If we do, then it might make sense to group it in with the fire alarm.
Okay. So, when were they contacted?
This was a week ago.
Okay.
It's very new, yeah.
Yep, okay.
But I guess the hearing about the grant with the Community Commonwealth Compact, or whatever it's called, it's pretty quick turnaround. So we should hear probably within 30 days, I'm guessing.
Okay. Thank you.
No other issues to be raised, or questions to be posed, or items to be raised on that? I believe that brings us to the minutes. I don't have a copy of the minutes.
You know, Mary didn't get to the minutes.
She has a
For August
copy of that.
21st?
That's impossible.
This is a folder. I brought my stuff from home.
What's the date?
And I didn't
What's the
even
date?
look
What's
at
the date
that.
on it?
What's the date at the top of the thing?
May,
May 29th.
those we
This
already
is-
approved.
Yeah, this is August 21st.
She
Yeah.
made a mistake on the last agenda.
Ah, is
she-
that what it is? Okay, then we don't. I don't. Cool.
So how'd the minutes look, by the way?
I was reading them.
Not
going,
good.
this is-
It was strangely out of date.
Just like tonight's meeting.
Yeah.
What's that about?
So then that means that we're at that point in the evening.
Making a motion to adjourn?
Amen.
The matter, I'm going to accept that as a second. So the
bet.
matter has been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. It is 8:16 PM, at which time our meeting is ending.